Around the time Cicero left Rome, the 25-year-old Pompeius was completing the list of tasks with which Sulla had charged him. The dictator ordered Pompeius to liberate Sicily from the Marians. Marcus Perperna Vento, who had been pro-praetor of Sicily during the Battle of the Colline Gate, had offered escaped Marians, and those fleeing proscription, a safe haven to which they could run. However, the moment Perperna learned of the sight of the force Sulla had given Pompeius, he fled Sicily altogether, disappearing into exile. Gaius Papirius Carbo, who had tried and failed to rescue Marius the Younger from the town of Praeneste, had already set sail, headed for the perceived safety of Sicily. Although Pompeius failed to take Perperna, Carbo sailed right into his grasp. Although Carbo tried to fight, his army was no match for the 6 legions and 120 warships Sulla had bestowed on Pompeius for the task. Pompeius easily captured Carbo, threw him in chains, paraded him in front of the Sicilians, and then executed him in the dictator's name. Catching another Marian, Quintus Valerius, Pompeius also treated him with unnatural cruelty before ordering his execution. Pompeius's need to humiliate his opponents before having them killed earned him his very first, though unofficial cognomen. They called him Adolescentulus Carnifex, or Young Butcher. Placing his sister's husband in charge of Sicily, Pompeius next set sail for Africa to defeat Gnaeus Domitius Aenobarbus. Aenobarbus, who, like Caesar, was a son-in-law of the late Cinna, likely considered himself the new leader of the Marian party. Having fled Rome the moment his name appeared on one of Sulla's proscription lists, he began recruiting legions from the various colonies settled by Gaius Marius. But Numidia was in the throes of its own civil dispute. Numidia's rightful king, Hyempsal II, was a grandnephew of the late King Jugurtha. Unfortunately, the Numidian people did not like Hyempsal, and threw their support behind a minor territorial leader named Hyarbas. Hyarbas approached Aenobarbus with a proposition. If Aenobarbus helped him chase Hyempsal from Numidia's throne, then Hyarbas, as Numidia's new king, would throw his wealth and military support behind the self-proclaimed heir of the Marian party. Aenobarbus agreed. Combining their legions, he and Hyarbas chased Hyempsal from his throne, but even together, they were no match for the size of Pompeius's army. When Pompeius landed in Africa, over 7,000 of Aenobarbus's soldiers quickly defected, leaving Aenobarbus vulnerable. At the Battle of Utica, Gnaeus Domitius Aenobarbus died when Pompeius's forces overran his military camp. Next, Pompeius invaded Numidia. There, he captured and executed Hyarbas, restoring Hyempsal to his rightful throne. To avoid further trouble from the Numidian people, who did not like Hyempsal, Pompeius established a portion of Numidia as a separate kingdom under the reign of a petty king, Massinissa II. This constituted a formal Roman recognition of 2 Numidian kingdoms. Writing to Sulla from Africa, Pompeius informed the dictator of all his successes, in both Sicily and Numidia, and formally requested Sulla grant him a Roman triumph to celebrate those victories. When Pompeius arrived in Rome, the masses flooded into the streets to greet and cheer him on, showing Sulla the zenith to which the young man's popularity had reached. In order to maintain the people's support, Sulla outdid him all in his worship of Pompeius by publicly saluting the dashing general, and then ordering for him the new cognomen of Magnus, which meant the Great. The crowd roared, and Pompeius Magnus, who had been previously dubbed the Young Butcher, swelled with pride. Unfortunately, Sulla explained when the two could speak privately, a triumph was something that could only be celebrated by a consul or a praetor. Pompeius was not even a senator. The law did not permit him to celebrate something which belonged only to the absolute top-tier offices within Roman government. This answer did not please Pompeius one bit. Sulla was dictator. His very word was law. There was nothing Sulla could command for which he might later be prosecuted. Pompeius quickly reminded the dictator of everything he had done for him. Not only had he defeated the Marian resistance in both Sicily and Numidia, but it was the army he conscripted which tipped the war in Sulla's favor, leading to the very dictatorial powers Sulla was now refusing to use. Pompeius finished by reminding the old man that the Roman people would always abandon the setting sun in favor of the sun that was rising. And Sulla was all too aware of the truth of the arrogant general's statement. Old and decrepit himself, Sulla's popularity with the people was tenuous at best. He had been the first man to invade Rome at the head of an army. And though he was only protecting his legal rights, that invasion quickly led to further invasions by Cinna, Sertorius, and Gaius Marius. Because he had created the precedent, Sulla would be forever infamous. Still, Sulla needed Pompeius, as he needed Lucullus, Crassus, Metellus, and so many others whose task it would be to carry his constitutional changes into Rome's future. So, as a compromise, Sulla hinted that, with 6 legions at his back, and the love and adoration of the people, what could he, an old man, do if Pompeius decided to hold a private triumph, even against the wishes of the Senate? And Pompeius Magnus did just that. He ordered his own extra-legal triumph, for which he brought in massive amounts of slaves, Numidian treasure, and even 4 gigantic war elephants with which to convey his triumphal chariot through Rome's cheering streets. Not only was Pompeius Magnus the first general to command a Roman army based solely on his popularity and charisma, but he was the first non-senator to ever celebrate a Roman triumph. Unfortunately, in his youthful arrogance, and likely to Sulla's private amusement, Pompeius overlooked the fact that African elephants could not fit through the city gates. So, Pompeius's adoring fans were forced to wait along empty streets for a parade that was much delayed by the last-minute substitution of traditional horses to pull his triumphal chariot instead.